Next, we're going to look at dividing rationals. And dividing is going to be very similar to multiplying. A over B divided by C over D is actually the same thing as A over B times D over C. We take the second fraction, we flip it over, and then we multiply. Our first step would then be to start by factoring everything, just like it was for multiplication. We then go to our second fraction, we flip it over, and we multiply. So from there, we use the steps for multiplication. So let's look at some examples of this. Here's my first example. And our very first step is to start by factoring. The numerator of the first fraction does not factor, but the denominator does. I need two things that multiply to give me -8 and add to give me -2. And we can get that from -4 and +2. The second fraction, on the other hand, does not factor, just like the top of the first one didn't. The first fraction then stays exactly the same as it was at our previous step. We flip the second fraction over, so now I have x minus 5 over 1, and we now multiply. So now I can cancel. I have an x minus 4 on the top and the bottom, and when I do that, I'm left with an x minus 5 on the top and an x plus 2 on the bottom. So now I have my simplified form. My next problem, if I start with the first fraction, the top, we can see they have a 5 in common. When I remove that, I'm left with 5x minus 6. The bottom, these have a 7 in common, leaves me with an x minus 2. If I look at the second fraction, I'm going to start with the bottom, the denominator. These have a 7 in common, and if I remove that, I'm left with a 5x plus 4. The top of this seems really bad to factor. However, just like I did in the multiplication video, I'm going to use some things around me. 25 is 5 times 5. Well, I already have two terms here that deal with 5. 5x minus 6 and 5x plus 4. While this isn't guaranteed to work, it's a good place to start. Multiplying out 5x times 5x is the 25x squared that we need. My outside terms, 5x times 4 is 20x. Inside, -6 times 5x would be minus 30x. And those are going to add to give me the -10x that I need. My outside terms, -6 times 4 is minus 24. So this is exactly what I needed. We can then go to my next step. The first fraction remains the same, and the second one we're going to flip over. So now this is 7 times 5x plus 4 over 5x minus 6, 5x plus 4. And now we can start canceling. We have a 5x minus 6 on the top and the bottom, 5x plus 4 on the top and the bottom. We also have a 7 on the top and the bottom. When we're done, we're left with a 5 on the top, and the bottom has an x minus 2. So here is my simplified answer. Here I have my next example. Before I start completely factoring this numerator, I might notice they all have a 2 in common. So I'm going to start by removing a 2. Then I'm left with 6x squared minus 11x plus 4 over 3x. My second one, if I look at the denominator first, these have a 2x in common. And when I remove those, I'm left with x plus 2. The top of this is probably a little bit trickier for most people to factor. The only thing that multiplies to be 3 is 3 and 1. Let's go back to my old method. 3 times -8. Well, that's -24. So I need to start thinking of things that multiply to be -24. negative 1 and 24, negative 2 and 12, negative 3 and 8, negative 4 and 6. And if I check what these each add to, there's 23, 10, 5, and 2, which is what I needed since I have a 2x. We rewrite this as 3x squared minus 4x plus 6x minus 8. These two terms have an x in common. I'm left with 3x minus 4. These two have a 2 in common, and once again I'm left with 3x minus 4. And now we have the 3x minus 4 in common, and I'm left with x plus 2. So now I have my full factored form here. Now that I've done that, I still need to factor this numerator, now that I've simplified it. And once again, let's look at our method. We multiply 6 times 4, a times c. That gives me 24. Things that multiply to be 24 would be 1 and 24. That adds to be 25. 2 and 12 add to be 14. 3 and 8 add to be 11, and we need them to add to be negative 11, so we're going to do negative 3 and negative 8. So I can rewrite it as 6x squared minus 3x minus 8x plus 4. These terms here have a 3x in common. I'm left with 2x minus 1. These two have a minus 4 in common. I'm left with 2x minus 1. And then we have 2x minus 1 in common. I'm left with 3x minus 4. So that gives me my 2 parentheses over here. And this is all over 3x. When we divide, we're going to flip the second fraction over and multiply. So we have 2x times x plus 2 over 3x minus 4 times x plus 2. I have x plus 2's that cancel, and 3x plus 4's minus 4's that cancel. I also have an x on the top and the bottom that cancels. On the top, I have a 2 times 2 is 4. I also have a 2x minus 1. And on the denominator, the only thing that hasn't canceled is this 3.